Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before.
The State of the Union, the president saying a few days ago, this country better than ever. We look at what it might mean here at home.
It is so important for the voice of South Carolinians to be heard and to be given a chance to actually express itself.
Because I know that as many times as Dave and I have fought one another as political opponents, we've never hated each other.
And after an address that divided the political parties, how do we meet in the middle? We look at a new effort we're behind that helps find some common ground in South Carolina.
If you don't define this as an alcoholic beverage, you're going to open this up to 18-year-olds. I don't know if I can stress that enough.
It's all about protecting young people. That's what lawmakers say about a plan that would regulate already legal products that come from hemp. Why some business leaders say it will pinch their bottom line.
And we have this codified in state law. I mean, I don't know how that would shake out. I could see that being a challenge.
Yeah, there's a food fight at the State House, a push to outlaw what people can and can't buy with SNAP benefits. Supporters say it's about making South Carolina healthy again, while some others say it'll make some other things not so healthy. It's Sunday again here in South Carolina. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian McConkey.
I'm Catherine Glenn Foster.
I'm Dave Wilson, and Connect to the Capitol starts right now.
People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much.
Well, the president pumping up the economy during the State of the Union address, roughly 2-hour primetime address, drawing plenty of attention, plenty of criticism, and who guessed it, dividing the political parties. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday in South Carolina. That's where we're going to begin with what that stirred up here and all over the place.
The president did exactly what his base wanted.
Yep.
He projected strength. He talked about winning. I don't think he's tired of winning yet. Call me wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
I think he wants a little bit more winning. But with that said, that strength without consensus can end up being divisive. And that's exactly what we saw in the post-State of the Union polling.
The polling came out extremely strong for people who are strongly in favor and strongly out of favor with what the president was saying and doing. I mean, it was oftentimes when you're doing polling, you'll have, this is a very strong opinion or a strong opinion or neutral or somewhat against, very against. It was high for and high against, which just tells us that what we're seeing right now in America is a very solidly dividing line between those who support the president and those who don't, and the numbers, the space between them, is maybe 3 to 5%.
The approval rating immediately after the Trafalgar Group did this.
Right.
Yes.
50% approval, 47 and change disapproval rate. So like you're saying, it's a thin margin. It is a great division. We saw the division playing out actually in the speech. When, Marcus, if we could show that video of the Texas Democrat Representative Al Green for a second time getting let out of the chamber. Last year was in a joint address to Congress. This year, let out during the State of the Union address for holding a sign that said black people are not apes. That's in reference to a cartoon that was posted to social media by a Trump account a few weeks ago.
Let's just give it to Al Green for actually standing up. This is, remember the day the "you lie" from Joe Wilson
during the Obama speech.
During the Obama speech, talking about health care, talking about what became Obamacare. Al Green doing the same thing, but he brought signage with him this time.
Props.
He brought props. He always carries the cane, shook the cane at them, but he, wanted to make a statement because we have heard from our political leaders in South Carolina. You had Tim Scott, who came out vehemently against what the president had put up there. When you had, if you haven't seen it yet, it's a cartoon that has looked like apes with the faces of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama on them.
And to be fair, people said it was just a clip at the very end of another video, and they didn't realize it was there. But
I don't
that's
care.
also your job.
Yeah.
To make sure, and
You gotta vet it.
Okay,
and you got to be concerned
Yeah.
if that's the next video in your feed. Like that.
Yeah.
That would not be showing up in my feed. I can tell you that.
No.
And that is where you have to begin to go, okay, Al Green, you had a moment. You took advantage of the moment. You said, listen, there's a divide right here, and we are going to stand up and we're going to say, Mr. President, black people aren't apes. The sign was abundantly clear on that one. I'm going to segue over, though, to something where we've been working on here.
This week.
This week, had a press conference this week for the launch of the South Carolina Forum. So this is something that Catherine and I are working on with Trav Robertson, with the former chair.
We've talked here
and
on
we've
the
talked
show.
right here about it. We had actor Andrew Shue. For those of you who are watching, during the old Fox days, was on Melrose Place.
Oh, they remember if they're
Way back. Listen, trust me. He was at the State House this week, and it was amazing to see this. All of a sudden, there's this clump of people. It's like, oh, wait a minute, he's here. And then, of course,
The ladies and the gentlemen, it was so funny to see who was, as they say, fangirling over this actor.
I'm going to call. No, do I call out the one?
I'm going to say no.
No, not at the moment, but there were plenty of them.
This is about civility.
Yeah, this is true.
Exactly.
The funny part was, though, when several folks came up and said, can your sister Elizabeth show up some other time? We'd love to see her here, too. But no, the South Carolina Forum has been a big, hit a big launch point this week. The whole goal with it, just so that you understand there at home, if you go to scforum.org, you can see more about this and actually get involved, because the goal is to get 100,000 South Carolinians to take their ideas and begin to consolidate those ideas into what can be truly effective legislation that gets presented to the General Assembly. That's so important.
The whole idea here is to get everyone to come promote their ideas.
Different ideas.
Yeah, not just go on some social media platform and say, here I'm going to complain. Here's what's wrong with South Carolina. But here's what I think we can fix, and here's how we can get there. Looking, as you said, to bring together 100,000 South Carolinians. The amazing thing to me was that even before the press conference, we had seen 12,000 South Carolinians go to the site, come check it out, and that number has been expanding exponentially since.
The whole idea with this, Brian, is if you let people bring their ideas in and then begin to share them back and forth with each other, what in the world can come out of this? We're looking for, how do we bring consensus? And an interesting thing that we have found as this whole idea of the South Carolina Forum has crisscrossed the state is there's so many people who have said, listen, I feel like I've lost my political home.
Yeah.
The extremes on the right or the extremes on the left. I used to go to the county party meetings, which are now turning into shouting matches that last
really
not
are.
an hour, but like 3. And who wants to do that? And it has disinterested so many people in finding out what needs to be done and how to get themselves involved.
Right, and so this is an idea that was initially even brought forward to South Carolina by Andrew Shue, the actor, but it really is an initiative by and for South Carolinians. It's about people on the left and the right leading the charge just to get the message out, but about bringing everyone in, even if you're not a voter, because the idea is facing off against the problems together instead of facing off against each other.
On social media.
Exactly.
Right. Behind the
across
keyboard.
The aisle, or it's almost worse than college football.
It is.
It can get that way.
The clashes.
The clashes can be so strong. And this is where, we'll give you a quick example. It happened in St. Louis. The same concept was initialized when the Rams moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles. There was a $250 million payout that went to the city. And they were like, what do we do with this money? Do we do the hodgepodge of ideas? So they went through this deliberative process, and they found out what ended up percolating up to the top of the line was our water and sewer systems were falling apart. Why don't we take this money and invest it into our infrastructure so that our city has what it needs for the long term? So it wasn't some other political agenda. It was the ideas of people coming forward and actually became part of what the city of St. Louis fixing something, not just turning around and having more political argument, but political.
And it's not what you would think, right?
No.
Fixing the water and sewer system. You know, I would have expected build a new amphitheater.
It's not sexy, but it's necessary.
It's necessary.
Right, because if your water, we've talked
Guess
a
what
little bit
happens?
about what goes wrong. So,
Yellow fever.
exactly.
Yeah, we don't
Listen,
need that.
when we come back, there are a lot of other things that have gone on at the State House this week, not the least of which a discussion about THC products. Can you allow hemp drinks to be sold in convenience stores in South Carolina? Some people say yes. Some people say, oh, I don't know about that. We'll find out more when we come back.
If you don't define this as an alcoholic beverage, you're going to open this up to 18-year-olds. I don't know if I can stress that enough.
Senator Mike Johnson out of York County saying, we're trying to protect young people. That's what lawmakers are saying about a plan to regulate products that are derived from hemp. They're being sold right now in convenience stores all across the state.
Yeah,
now,
you see them everywhere.
They are everywhere, and it has become the greater concern that these drinks have an inebriating effect. Apparently not as much of the hangover effect, but they're also very easy to pick up because they're not regulated currently in the state of South Carolina.
And they're sold at liquor stores now too. You can see them all over the place there, but you can't get them at stores. You have to be 21, as far as I know, in a liquor store to buy anything.
Right.
So this would go by the same rule, but they're trying to, I guess, codify some rules and regulations here.
Yeah, right now we have this regulatory whiplash where it's like, okay, is this legal? Is it not? It is, but then where can it be sold? How do we regulate this stuff? I keep seeing these articles coming out, these exposés about the effects of this on young people and others. And so the real question for us is, what is the best way to protect young people? It's not about the morality at this point. It's just about how we make sure that it's being provided to those who want it in a safe manner.
Yeah. Dave, the point I think to be made here is this a case, though, where the horse has already left the barn? Because it's already being sold.
It has left the barn, and the industry, the alcohol beverage industry, is now looking at this and saying, how do we regulate a product that's already out there? It's not like it hasn't happened before. I mean, oftentimes products end up in the marketplace.
No, prohibition.
Exactly. But then we take that horse and we rein that back in some, and that's what we're seeing right now is the product hit the market. It's got gained popularity, it's got ease of access, so it becomes a question now of, are we going to allow those who are under 21 to be able to purchase this? Because right now there's no restriction at all.
No, not at all. And it is clearly a booming industry too, because just in the little bit of research that in our newsroom you've done, if you research anything, it's going to pop up on your social media feed from now until the end of time.
Right.
Exactly.
The varieties that are available, boom, 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 just pop up. So it is a growing industry, and yes, they do probably have to do something to at least get a handle on it.
And I think they've got a concern because let's be honest, it's a burgeoning market. You have a lot of money that goes into developing products, getting it out there, and now if you add a layer of regulation, if it goes through and is sold just like an alcoholic beverage, there are steps in our state as to who can transport that, who can put that on the shelves. So they're kind of concerned because they're like, hey, listen, we got a new product in the market, but now you're going to turn around and start cutting into our profits.
So speaking of products that you can and can't buy, we know SNAP benefits likely wouldn't apply to this at any point. That debate continues to go on about what you can and can't buy. We know the governor a few months back said, hey, let's put an order in place, which is temporary. It goes into effect at the end of August, where, hey, no SNAP benefits to buy candy, to buy sugary drinks, things like sweet tea. It's all about making people healthy. But now they want to make it state law. And that's what's going on now. We heard from DSS in the open about, is this a good idea? Can we regulate what federal money can pay for?
Yeah, for me, the real question is about compassion and accountability.
Yeah.
You know, they're not opposites. Both can exist in the same space, and they should, because taxpayers deserve accountability. And at the same time, we want to give people the ability to choose what they purchase, what they consume, especially in South Carolina when we're talking about sweet tea. But with that said, there's also an administrative reality.
Yeah.
There's the question of actual compliance costs, and when you're getting into that kind of nitty-gritty, is that going to adjust, change how things are taking place in stores? Is it going to change whether stores stop taking SNAP because it just gets too difficult? Or at the state level, you know, how many more people do you have to add on to try to regulate all of this? And then the bigger question, even beyond that, is: are we addressing the root causes of poverty? Are we getting to the heart of the issue, or are we debating over soda and sweet tea while ignoring things like housing and healthcare costs?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's bigger fish to fry.
There are a lot of times that we look at these situations and we take a knee-jerk reaction and we go, well, listen, we've got to have healthier people, so let's turn around and restrict what it is that they can have access to. Well, let's just be honest. If you've ever gone to the grocery store and you try to buy healthy food, I'm going to be straight up. It's more expensive.
It is.
Than the stuff that's the sweets, the snacks, and everything else.
Filler foods.
The filler foods cost a whole lot less. I mean, we travel up and down the highway all the time, so it's easy to run into a store and pick up a pack of crackers or a pack of chips, because they're a whole lot cheaper than the probably healthy for you protein bar.
And easier than buying some zucchini and some chicken and cooking it up.
Correct.
Right.
Especially at the end of a long day.
And so when we look at SNAP benefits, you want to ask whether or not it's the government's responsibility to put the reins on somebody to control where they can and cannot go, what they can and cannot do. And as we have seen over and over again in polling in South Carolina, most people don't want the government telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Regardless
Exactly.
of political leanings, they want
Yeah.
choice. You mentioned housing as a root cause
Yes.
here for poverty and lower income. We're going to talk about housing here coming up. Evictions, they stay on your record, but there is a movement right now that would remove that barrier for people who are looking for housing. That's when we come back.
There have been more than 600,000 evictions in South Carolina since the year 2020. Right now, those stay on a person's permanent record. But a measure that would wipe the slate clean and remove some barriers to housing is stuck in a committee. Now, one thing that we actually have to realize here is that these evictions stay on your record even if you weren't evicted, even if the tenant won the case, even if the case was dismissed or the rent was later paid or it turned out the landlord was in the wrong. No matter what, these evictions stay on your record. So as we were talking about earlier with the root causes and hunger and SNAP and food insecurity and housing insecurity, this has such an incredible, devastating impact to families because that eviction filing will continue to show up forever.
It will haunt them forever. This measure would remove it after a period of 5 years. And some of that video you saw there in the open, that was from about 2 weeks ago. The hearing, it was a long hearing.
Yeah.
Countless people got up and told very real stories about, hey, I'm on the right path now and have been for quite some time, but this thing won't go away because of 1 bad month, 2 bad months. It happens to people. We're not talking about people that bounce the check every month for the first 10 straight years.
Right.
These are folks that aren't doing that. It happened once or twice.
And this is where you look at the ebb and flow of the economy, how jobs are going. Do you have enough money to pay the bills? We've talked about affordable housing before. We've talked about what needs to be done we just finished talking about SNAP benefits and what it's going to take to be able to make all of the payments, make the rent payment, pay the water bill, pay the light bill, be able to pay for groceries and get yourself to work. I mean, those costs can eat up, especially when you think about it from 2020 until now, what we have felt with inflation. It has been a huge increase for so many people. The cost of just going to the grocery store is jumping dramatically. Has it started to siphon back down a little bit? Yeah, maybe. But imagine what it was like in 2020 when you didn't have job security, or you were trying to get through COVID, and what were you going to do to be able to stay in your home, and you get evicted? Well, it's 2026 now. You may be back into a full-time job, strong in that position, but that mar on your record is always there.
And this initiative really is, for me, about South Carolina values: grace, redemption, restoration. It goes back, honestly, to the South Carolina Forum, because the Forum is about different folks, and maybe different sides of the aisle, different walks of life coming together, finding solutions together. And that's exactly how this bill came into being. I pulled up a list of some of the different folks who came together to develop it. And it includes the real estate associations, state and local, the South Carolina Apartment Association, property managers, the tenants, faith leaders, community advocates, all kinds of different people who you might think, maybe the tenants on one side, the apartment association on the other, but they have all come together and said, we need this to change because we believe in redemption.
And it was at times, if you listen into that hearing, it was very real.
Yeah.
It truly was. People with real stories that a lot of folks can connect with.
And I'm so grateful to actually see people showing up to talk about this, to share what they've been through, because this is part
It was packed.
of the political process and people getting involved. Phenomenal that they were there.
Like we talked about with the SC Forum, getting involved,
Yes.
sharing ideas, that's part of it.
Yes.
Going to a public hearing where public testimony is taken and considered. It's being considered
Yes.
by
And-
decision makers.
And that's the part of the activism that we always want to encourage everybody to have. In our final segment today, we're going to talk about one of the icons of activism.
Yes, we
He
sure
is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He'll be lying in state on Monday, but we'll
Yeah.
have more on that when we come back.
Well, the state of South Carolina will honor one of its native sons this week. The late Jesse Jackson will lie in state at the State House tomorrow. The public can pay their respects to the civil rights champion throughout the day on Monday, starting at 11 in the morning, ending at 4:30 in the afternoon. A well-deserved honor that our good friend Jim Felder, who was here last week, was a part of making happen, meeting with leaders in this state, with the governor. It didn't take much convincing.
No.
I think you just had to ask the question, and it was a simple yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Reverend Jesse Jackson
Yeah.
shaped American history, our political history, our moral history. Across the board, he is a figure you cannot ignore. What he did for voter mobilization and elevating those questions of racial equality onto the national stage and making sure that no one could ignore them. He is someone who we will never forget.
Right, exactly.
Never. There's a full day of events that are planned tomorrow, Monday. We have a graphic about that, Marcus. There it is right there. That's what will be happening tomorrow in the city of Columbia, all beginning at Levy's Funeral Home downtown in Columbia. There'll be a processional to the State House. This will be a very big deal. Saying goodbye to the Reverend Jackson is going to be about a 2-week process, not only here, but in Chicago, where it became his home base for the coalition that he started. So Monday is going to be a big day in Columbia, in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, and it's what he deserves, because leadership isn't just about policy, it's about the moral arc that you help bend. And that's exactly what the Reverend Jackson did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we're on that note, we have something fun to talk about before we get out of here. One of the Reverend Jackson's good friends, the good congressman, Jim Clyburn, he made a funny. He told the governor of Maryland, "I'm the real OG of quarter zips," and that's true. I don't think we're going to see one in this video, but Jim Clyburn wears quarter zip a lot.
It was a hilarious video that came out. Jim Clyburn ends up talking about the fact that because Westmore, governor of Maryland, said, I'm the OG when it comes to these, zipped up sweaters that I wear.
Man.
But Jim Clyburn, my gracious, he wears them everywhere. Especially if you've ever been in D.C., anytime that's the fall, winter, you're going to see him in one. Here, he doesn't wear them at home nearly as much, but
he rocks them.
He rocks them. And if you got to check it out, we'll make sure you have a link on there to enjoy the humor of Jim Clyburn as he then transitions over to tariffs and how much more those
That's right.
those quarter zips cost.
Correct.
Welcome back to the beginning of the show and
Yeah.
the State of the Union.
Beginning, the middle, the end, it comes full circle. Hey, thanks for joining us this week on Connect to the Capitol. We're going to see you next Sunday.
Have a great week.
Have a good week, everybody.